to Doing Business with Warren Galloway. I'm your host, Warren Galloway. All right, so you have a business idea. You've tested it in the market and received a good response. Now you want to take the business idea to the next level, but you need some money in order to do that. On today's show, I talked with Jason Barnett, Senior Vice President of Lending at Invest Detroit, about how business owners can gain access to capital. Jason Barnett, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Warren, for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you being a guest on this show because we're going to talk about a subject that's very, very important to entrepreneurs across the country is access to capital. So tell me a little bit about who Jason Barnett is, and then talk about Invest Detroit, the organization that you work for.
A little bit about my background is I was born and raised in the city, and I often mention that is because it's amazing to be in the position that I'm in as a Senior Vice President of Lending over at Invest Detroit, to be able to help new and existing startup businesses bring their dreams to fruition. And so it's good to be able to see a city that you were born in go through various transformation and then get to the point now where we're a very economic empowered city that people are looking to get growth and new ideas. Invest Detroit is a nonprofit community development financial institution known as CDFI. We're a nonprofit lender that is looking to help transform Detroit neighborhoods as well as the city throughout. We work with startups and existing businesses, lending to them in the range of $50,000 all the way up to $750,000. In some deals, we're able to go a little bit higher, but we're just looking to help bring dreams to fruition. And we would love to continue to help small businesses continue to grow in the city, new and existing, with partners like other funders in the region so that we can just continue to help economic growth.
One of the things that I personally encounter when I'm in the community is that entrepreneurs say, well, they don't lend in the community. They don't lend to African-American businesses. They don't lend to female businesses, but we know otherwise. Let's talk about the efforts of Invest Detroit to put money into the community. What initiatives are you taking, and what type of products do you have that an entrepreneur can tap into to fund their business?
Very great question, Warren. We are looking to be a mission-driven organization, which we are. We're looking to help female businesses, minority-owned businesses, Detroiters that are high-end Detroiters. We're trying to activate vacant and blighted space, and we're trying to create walkable neighborhoods. The great thing about what we're doing, we're very intentional. We're trying to bridge the wealth gap. We're trying to transform intergenerational mobility, and we're trying to do all we can to help those businesses. I often hear people say, I don't know about capital and I never done it before. Everything that I've funded was family and friends. The great thing about a nonprofit organization is that we're not trying to compete with banks. We're trying to get people bankable. And so knowing that if an entrepreneur has a vision, a plan, and they have persistence, they're able to come to us, work with us, and we'll provide some form of technical assistance, even though there are some great technical assistance providers out there. We're just trying to help push people along the way.
There are entrepreneurs out here who are listening to Jason Barnett at Invest Detroit talk about what you're doing in the community. But if I'm an entrepreneur, what steps do I need to take to be capital ready to see you? I mean, I just can't come in and say, hey, can I see Jason Barnett? I need to be ready. So talk to us about the steps for capital readiness.
Capital readiness comes in so many shapes and forms. We deal with new and existing businesses. So for a new business owner or prospective business owner, I think there's various steps that they need to take in order to be capital ready. One is to have the vision, to truly understand what it is that you want to accomplish when you open your doors, what neighborhood you would love to be in, what impact you would love to have, and what solutions you're trying to provide to your customers. Another thing for capital readiness is having your plan laid out. And I think that writing a vision and allowing yourself to see it and others to see it in a clear and clean format is going to be very, very helpful. Another thing that's important for entrepreneurs to think about is the equity part of it. We require that our businesses bring in at least 10% of the overall budget amount. So just for instance, if they're going to be $100,000 budget, we're expecting them to have at least $10,000 family, friends, their own capital to inject into that project. So being prepared from a capital perspective. And then I would say knowing your lenders, knowing what they are looking for as far as initiatives, dollar amounts that they can lend to, and doing some research on the front end and being able to truly understand that when you put that call in or that email into entity like Invest Detroit, you know that we're the right entity to help you lend for your project. And so just thinking about all those different things, I think those things could be really helpful in preparation and getting you ready to be capital ready. And if you don't have those plans in place, if you don't have the equity in place, and if you are looking for people to lead you and guide you in the right direction, there's a ton of resources in our ecosystem that could really get you prepared. There's Tech Town that does an awesome job. There's the SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. There's Build Institute. There's a lot of great partners, and we work cohesively in the ecosystem. And we often communicate in order to make sure that these small businesses are getting wraparound services, tender love and care, TLC, in order to be able to be prepared to bring their dreams to life. And we ask them hard questions. And I think they need to be prepared to ask those hard questions, because I would rather we ask the questions than to open up the doors and then your customer starts to ask those questions and you don't have answers to them.
Got it. So you talk about wraparound services. Does Invest Detroit provide what we call pre-loan TA support and post-loan TA support?
And that's something that we do provide. Myself and my awesome colleague Derek Edwards, we work on the front end to help small businesses get prepared. But we love to send those individuals over to those resources that I just mentioned, because that's what they focus on. And so we don't have any individual in house that specifically works on TA, but that's something that we're thinking about doing, either continuing to outsource this to the great providers and let them do what they do best, and then we do what we do best. But we are there for the small business owners in order to create a Q&A so that they could get an idea of what we're looking for before they come back to us after they are working with the TA provider.
So I'm this entrepreneur and I need a couple $100,000 for my business. Should I come with the expectation that Invest Detroit would fund my full financial need, or are we looking at other lenders that might come to the table as well? And we call that what? Capital stacking. Talk about this capital stacking thing.
Yeah, so capital stacking is very common in our market because based on the size of the deal that you just mentioned, Warren, $200,000, that's a size deal that we may be able to lend to in-house, because we analyze the overall project. The guarantor, which is also the owner, could be a partner as well. We analyze the overall picture to determine if this is something that fits within our mission and something that we would love to lend to solely by ourselves. So $200,000, if we look at all the variables and all the things make sense, then we could do that by ourselves. If there's a stack that's a little bit more inclusive, where it has more equipment or more furniture and fixtures, and we have a $300,000 or $400,000 budget, Warren, then that's when we bring in various lending partners that work together in the ecosystem. We work closely with Detroit Development Fund. We work closely with the Michigan Women's Forward. We work with the DEGC through their lending arm, EDC. And so we work with a lot of developers in that arena to help get their stacks funded. And when I mention developers, there are owner-occupied businesses that they are developing their space, but they're also owning that space as well. So when I say developer, there are entrepreneurs that are not only leasing space from another owner, they're developing that property themselves and want to have some ownership in that property before they put their business there. So we work closely with a lot of lenders in order to make these deals happen.
Let's talk about the suite of loan products that you have. Please explain to us the term loan products you have, the line of credit products you have, or any other products that an entrepreneur who's looking at this show would be interested in.
I think we are great at what we do, and that's term lending. We don't offer any lines of credit, but we have great partners that are able to offer lines of credits to businesses for working capital purposes. Our product is mainly the term product, and that's a product that small businesses could use for multiple things. They could use it for build out or tenant improvements. They could use that for financing of equipment, furniture, fixtures. They can also use it for some form of inventory and building acquisitions. as well as some form of working capital. And what I mean by working capital with the line of credit, people are able to use that line of credit and they can lend and use it and it goes up, and then they could borrow and then pay it back. So it's ebbs and flows with the line of credit, but we provide some form of working capital where it's permanent working capital versus the ebbs and flows of a line of credit. We give it to you up front and it's termed out over time. So that's the product of suites that we offer. It's only a one product entity, but with that, we've helped a tremendous amount of businesses over the years have their doors open and do great work in the city of Detroit.
Are there certain industries that you lend more to versus others, i.e. restaurants versus retail?
Great question. We work with all businesses, but we do have a good amount of, we call it F&B, food and beverage, in our space. We have worked with a ton of startup restaurants that are doing really well. And the good thing about what we're doing, we're trying to be that development source for them. We're trying to get them started, and then hopefully they'll be able to come in and get us taken out by a traditional bank. And so food and beverage is a big one. We deal with a lot of retail. We have daycares, we have gyms or fitness studios. And so we run the gamut when it pertains to the sectors that we lend to.
So what impact have you seen as a result of the pandemic? Have you tightened your underwriting criteria now? Have you come out with new loan programs that are more fit for lending during the pandemic? What changes have taken place since March of 2020?
And it's been a great year for us. So I definitely want to start by saying that, Warren. We've had just a great year because in the midst of the pandemic, there have been certain sectors that have been essential sectors that we work with because we do have manufacturing companies as well. So it's been a really great year for us. What we've been trying to be mindful of and looking at new businesses and new clients for us is making sure that they're thoughtful of the impact of COVID with their projections when they're planning out, okay, I'm going to open the doors and I think I'm going to be at 100% capacity. We know right now in the state of Michigan, we're only at 50% capacity. And so I just want those entrepreneurs to be thoughtful in planning to ensure that they are thinking through COVID and knowing that we may still be 6 months, 9 months, or a year into this. And so if they're going to open up during 2021, what are the things that they're going to put in place? They're going to put in PPE that's going to make the environment safer for their patrons or their customers. And so we have been being very thoughtful of those businesses that are looking to open and making sure that they're looking around the corner, making sure that they're being thoughtful. Right. So we're trying to just think through, okay, is there additional interest only that they may need versus the 6 to 9 months? Will they need a little bit more ramp up and getting to the point of having their businesses open and to the point where they've got enough buzz through PR. So yeah, we're just looking at it a little bit differently, still wanting to lend, still excited about lending, but just wanting to make sure that we are being thoughtful and intentional, knowing that this pandemic has taken a toll on a ton of businesses here in the city.
I mentioned earlier that a lot of people think it's the banks that really are lending in our communities, but it's community lenders like Invest Detroit that truly are impacting the neighborhoods. What residual effects are you seeing by you lending money to a business owner that wants to open, say, in Jefferson Chalmers, or a business owner that wants to open in the Avenue of Fashion or Midtown? What economic effect is that having by you putting that capital in the community?
It's so amazing because we haven't seen lending in some of those neighborhoods for years, yes, decades. And so just in knowing that we're being able to go to Jefferson Chalmers and help a business that will entail be the catalytic project that will then lead to other retailers to come to that area, it's just amazing. So you mentioned the Avenue of Fashion, very stable environment. I remember being a kid. My mom would go on the Avenue of Fashion and her salon was there. So I was a single digit kid just hanging out on the Avenue of Fashion. And it was just an amazing place for us to kind of hang out while she was getting her hairstyle. But when you see the history of the Avenue of Fashion, even with that historical strength that you see in the heart of the city, we're still seeing new businesses come to the Avenue of Fashion. So it's just making the avenue even stronger, and it's more resilient, it's more diversified as it pertains to the offerings there. And so what our projects are doing, we're just, for Livernois, we're just adding more and more strength. For Jefferson Chalmers, we're being more catalytic. And for the other 8 neighborhoods that we're working in that are our strategic neighborhoods in the city, we're seeing some great things happen from that. And so we're not only seeing it on the retail side and the business side, there's parks that are opening, there are greenways that are being worked on. So it's a very neighborhood effect when we are able to create that walkability within a neighborhood.
Wow, this is a pretty awesome conversation, because I know about the 8 targeted neighborhoods that you're involved with, but what about those neighborhoods that technically are kind of off the grid right now? When I say neighborhoods, really the commercial districts like Oakman and Grand River, Oakman and Greenfield, that have not had the capital investment like these other neighborhoods we just discussed. Is there a plan to eventually move into those older commercial neighborhoods in the city of Detroit that don't have the capital investment?
And when you mentioned Grand River and Greenfield, that struck a chord with me because I grew up on Schoolcraft in Greenfield. So I remember the days of being able to go out and hang out up there on Grand River and Greenfield, and it was just amazing to see the amount of businesses that were there, how vibrant it was. If you needed to get a pair of sneakers, you didn't have to go far. It was within walkable neighborhood for us. And so from our perspective, yes, we're focused on the 2 that you mentioned, Jefferson Chalmers, plus the 8, so 10 total strategic neighborhoods. We are able to help businesses in that area if they're existing. If they're startups, it requires a little bit more due diligence. We want to make sure that we're lending to someone that's not going to be on an island by themselves, that they're going to be surrounded by other successful businesses, that they're going to be able to get there and have someone, whether it's a business association or someone that can lift them up during those tough times. And so we are able to work with those businesses in the Grand River and Greenfield or Oakman and Grand River, because that was historical as well, with a ton of stores, ton of retail in that area. And I remember going there as a kid with my dad. And so those neighborhoods that are not on the 10 strategic neighborhood radar now, we're helping, but from a startup perspective, we would have to send those businesses to other lenders or look to partner with other lenders, as you mentioned before, capital stacking, to see if it makes sense for us, for a mission, to be part of that deal.
Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. Thank you. This was a great conversation. You provided some very detailed information that our entrepreneurs need to hear. Are there any final thoughts before we sign off that you want to communicate to our entrepreneurs?
The one thing that I would just say to any entrepreneur or budding entrepreneur that's watching the show, I would just let them know that if you want to be an entrepreneur in the city of Detroit, we have the ecosystem and the resources available for you to make that happen. It may take time, it may take effort, it may take capital, but if you stay persistent, you can get there. And I say that there's no excuses in the city of Detroit for anyone that either want to come into the city, born and raised like myself, that want to open the doors to a business. We're here for you, and you can make it happen. You just have to put in the work and believe in yourself and never give up.
Awesome. Great words. Mr. Barnett, thank you again for coming on the Doing Business with Warren Galloway show. And hopefully we'll be in touch again soon. Okay.
Thank you so much, Warren, for having me. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm humbled by the experience.